Hello, everybody. Time for a stream today. There's not really any particular theme to this one. Talk about corona, gas masks, helmets, Geiger counters, whatever you want to talk about, as long as it's relevant to the channel. Don't start bringing up the Illuminati did this or that, because I've got no interest in that. So I've got my hoodie on because it's comfy and it's finally starting to get to that sort of chillier weather where hoodies are really sort of comfortable to wear. But yeah, I'm all right other than being very tired because I think my ulcerative colitis is causing fatigue again at the moment, where sort of in the morning you just, unless it's a day where I have to get up for work or whatever, I'm just sort of like, I need to sleep in longer. And that is like a common symptom of ulcerative colitis, like extreme fatigue. At least I'm not sort of generally, for the most part, one of those people with it that needs to fall asleep for a couple of hours during the afternoon, like some people are, but to me it does make getting up quite hard. Oh, as the title says, there's no theme. Do you mean what happened to the former Soviet states? They broke off into their own countries mostly. All right, Mike. I was saying to a few other people just before you came on at the moment. I've got like lots of fatigue from ulcerative colitis. I think that's the thing causing it. So like in the mornings, I'm really struggling to get up. On a work day, I will get up, obviously, but at the moment, it's sort of I just want to sleep in for hours. The only thing I know about Belarus at the moment is there was that election, wasn't there, where everybody said Lukashenko, whatever he's called, rigged it, and there's been lots of like protests and that over it. Right, there's stuff I want to get up and do, Peter. The issue is that I just feel too exhausted sometimes. No, I don't think I have heard the Beatles song about radiation. What's it called? I could just Google Beatles radiation. I'm sure I'd find it, but... Well, as I already said, I don't know how long till the stuff arrives until I get all the shipping details, from the seller. I'll have to remind them in a day or two if they still not sent it. I've seen those train spotter with like the soldiers wearing them under it to keep like the chemical hood out their eyes. I assume it's probably just to keep the hood shaped like that, is it? Having a cap under it. Do I have a cap handy in this room? I should have. Yeah. Right. Let's test it with this check one. I know this isn't a chemical hood, but I think a hoodie would be a good enough substitute for that. So let's try it. I assume it's probably to keep it out of your eyes when you have a hood on like that. Yeah, I assume it's like that because it keeps the shape out of your eyes. So obviously with a chemical hood and a cap, I think it's probably just more likely to keep the, if you didn't have a respirator on but a half face mask, it's just to keep you not having the hood kind of do that to your face. I've done videos recommending Geiger counters. You'd have to tell me what your budget range is to start with. That's still not helping because price range, really good Geigers start generally at a couple of £100 or like dollars or whatever. Yeah, and that's a good thing, Mark, because I used to be dangerously underweight. I've on purposely been trying to gain weight and I've managed it. $120. You might just be able to get therapy for that. But for the most part, no. Well, the stream's already going, so we're not going to rename it and all that. If you have a ghost story or whatever, share it. Yeah, you can get second-hand Geigers, but you have to be careful with those that they're not contaminated or like damaged or whatever. That's pretty creepy, Joe. I mean, it's weird to think, isn't it? You're buying surplus that's literally from a dead person. Yeah, well, we were on about that the other day, Salty Tide. It's barely on the news over here, strangely. Yeah, I'll take that back off. But yeah, that's why those are like that, I think, is just to keep the hood out of your face. What does Gamma Pix app do? Thank you, Doska. I have no idea what the name of them is, Gopnik, but they're the old Soviet batteries. You can find them for sale still, like manufactured, but they're not standard. The best thing to do if you could get somebody who makes them is not the filter adapters, but like the battery adapters, where essentially a double A goes in and it spaces it to fit the DP5's battery socket. What did he say? I have no idea what that person's on about. I'm very confused. If somebody's asking for random tech support, this isn't the channel to ask for tech support on your printer. Is that like food monazite wafer, or do you mean like a bit of crystal? Baptiste, how many bloody times? I have one, I never use it. They're a gimmick. Don't get me wrong, they are a pretty cool thing, but you don't use them regularly if you get one. They gather dust for the part that there's only a few games that use them. Oh, that's a pretty good price for it then if you got it for a Czech sauce. Well, not forever. For a very long time, yes. Forever, no. Right, I should be able to put on a mask much more comfortably now, look. So, I don't have a Goss filter handy, but just to prove that, being bold. Handy mask, there we go. Yep. That's certainly a lot more comfortable having a bald head where it doesn't pull out all your hair doing that. Azerbaijan, or whatever they're called, and Armenia. So, in the most polite way possible, two not important countries. I'm not buying another app, Radiac Maniac, that does the exact same thing as another app I've got. And that is cool, Colt. There's certainly very practical uses for them. It's just when people are like, oh, you need to get them for PC gaming, it's like, no, because all the AAA games or whatever don't support VR. So it's, it feels like it feels on the rest of your face, basically, the rubber on a mask. Recommend to get what, Gopnik? A DP5 Geiger counter. Spend a bit more and get an IMD5 because you can just put C-cell batteries in it and they're more modern. So basically, one of these. Yeah, get one of these instead. Because, yeah, you could get, of course, as we were saying. Have I got this in here? Is it all just all the accessories in here? Hang on a second. No, I've only got the accessories in here, so never mind. I've got the DP5 put away somewhere else, haven't I? Probably in a box somewhere. But yeah, IMD5s are a lot more practical. Yeah, but what model of Geiger counter is it? Just because you say it's cheap doesn't mean it's good. No, I don't smoke or vape anything anymore. Right, Sparrow? I mean, he might have to wear a mask, Fangsterno. If Father Christmas doesn't wear a mask, he'll also have to cut his beard to get the mask on properly. Yeah, I had one hanging around my neck, but I didn't even need it. I'm going to get rid of him, Marcus, because he's made 2 off-topic comments so far this stream. First one was telling me I was fat, even though obviously I'm not fat. I've put on weight, but that's actually a healthy weight now. I think I'm probably still slightly under recommended weight, but I'm a lot closer to it now. But yeah, his other comment then is like, although I'm sure a lot of us don't like Black Lives Matter as a group on here, suddenly just randomly going, oh, they're like a terrorist group, means I think he's just here to start arguments. Literally everything is from eBay. Nearly, like I'd say, 95% of the stuff I have on any of the videos is from eBay. Yeah, what you looked a couple of days ago, Troy, yes. I don't know if it's necessarily heat Arctic Sniper, but it's some sort of reaction it has to something. Again, Never Surrender, do you have any source for that? Because it doesn't sound like you do. It sounds like you're just trying to make an argumentative point. You're going to have to, well, it won't let you link, but you're going to have to say what news site that's credible has an article on it. Because saying, oh, is this going to be banned in the next couple of months? People say that all the time about random shit. And I think at the moment the government is only concerned with corona stuff, not anything else. D&B Militaria sometimes have them dev focused, but they're like thousands of pounds. I don't see the point in paying that for an L85. The little glass ones, you mean these? The GM tubes, they're all right. The low range one is probably not quite as good as an SBM 20 tube. The high range one is an SI3BG, so it's absolutely fine. Geiger counter for long hose, you mean a long cable? Probably DP5 series or CDV 700s, you know, so things like this. I know this is an IMD5, so it's like the kind of updated DP5, but this kind of design, I'd say, just because they're very simple to use and they cover quite a big range. Oh, you watch enough videos, Cap and Jack, however your name's pronounced, you'd see that I do. But I'm guessing you can't be bothered to watch the videos. Not I'm trying to be argumentative, it's just I get pretty fed up on the streams of, do you have this, do you have that, from people who can't be bothered to look. Yeah, I assume he means ones of a probe. Nearly always British eBay. I don't know what you mean by 65 dosimeter. What do you mean by 65 dosimeter? No, sadly, I've never been to America. Yeah, this one works. I said, if you have the probe in the regular thing, it will just be at background levels. So yeah, with the probe in the standard position, look, you're looking at barely any radiation. If I put the strontium 90 source over it, as it was before, that's when it goes up to about 10 millirad. Let me just press the reset button. But yeah, it will go to about 10 millirad. Right, Tyre? Regular homes, you basically can't Dancing Druid. I mean, obviously, keep your windows shut and you can put stuff like wet rags under door. frames and things like that. But for the most part, your house isn't built to be NBC proof, so don't even attempt it. If you have the money, buy a bunker, essentially. All right, Alex. Yeah, like I said, there's things you can do. You know, if you have HVAC filtration systems and you put good quality filters in, that's going to help. You know, the more insulated and like airtight your house is, the better. But houses are never designed to basically withstand chemical attacks. Oh, IT65 dosimeter, is it? Let me have a look. Oh, I think that's the is that the Czechoslovakian one or is it the Yugoslavian one, that one? If it's if that's the Yugoslavian one that you're looking at, that's meant to be quite good. It's very similar to a Soviet you know, like DP5 or Polish DP66 in terms of it charges dosimeters. You know, it's got a good wand on it. Yeah, that looks pretty good. There also seems to be a PZ65 dosimeter charger, and I certainly wouldn't recommend that because it's literally just a very big dosimeter charger that's a lot more expensive than just buying a cheap dosimeter charger, because all it does is just, you know, charge dosimeters. Oh, it's a Czech one. Then yeah, that will be absolutely fine if you can get one for a good bit of, you know, a good price. The problem is in a lot of places they end up being more expensive due to shipping or whatever. Probably my C7 respirators. Yeah, there's certainly things that will cut down on the amount of radiation that gets into a house. The issue is that, not radiation, like, well, radiation and chemicals, the issue is they're not designed to withstand it. But also, if you make your house airtight and you've got anything in the house producing radon, then you're going to become damaged by the radon gas building up. That's the problem lots of people have when they buy old retro granite houses and then they insulate them properly. They end up dying from lung cancer. I'm not saying that like it's funny. It is kind of funny in a dark humour way. They spend all this money making their house airtight and then the gas from inside the house kills them. Marcus makes a good point. In terms of, I can see the point in if you had a really nice thing you really like waterproofing it, but for the most part, yeah, just buy something that's built to be waterproof. Just as, you know, you wouldn't try and convert hot weather clothes to be cold weather clothes or whatever. Yeah, it's because it obviously builds up, doesn't it? And it's fairly heavy, radon. So yeah, if you've got materials in the basement that essentially decay into radon, you're essentially building somewhere where it's very easy for it to just build up and up and up. Right, I haven't used that Ludlam model, so let me Google it. And I'll tell you if it looks any good. Oh, that looks pretty good. So it's like a really small Geiger counter. That looks very good. It's basically like this, but better, isn't it? Oh, it even has an alpha window on it by the look of it. So yeah, what range does it do then? So you can either have some display in CPM, or some have like a micro sievert display, and then you've got a ×1 ×10 ×100 display. Okay, the one with the micro sievert display I just looked at, if I did see one, yeah. So that does 550 and 500 micro sievert. So it's not a huge range on it, but that does look like a good, you know, solid model of Geiger counter. Yeah, they look pretty good, actually. I'm not going to lie. You know, it's basically like one of these, but, you know, with a much bigger range on it. In a situation where there's lots of wind and rain, because NBC suits tend to be really good in extreme kind of rain and wind environments for keeping you sort of warm and dry, or an NBC situation, as in, you know, there was radiation or chemicals and you wanted to not get them on your clothes underneath, so you could just step out of the NBC suit when you get somewhere. Only if you get what's actually on them, James, into the thing. So radiation itself doesn't contaminate stuff, as in, if you've got alpha, beta, or gamma rays and you detect them, that doesn't contaminate anything. What makes stuff radioactive is neutrons. Neutrons are kind of different. They're kind of like gamma rays, except for they, actually make things radioactive. So an alpha probe would only become contaminated if you were basically measuring dusty things of it and that dust was contaminated. So, for example, if I put an alpha mica window against a load of like radium painted stuff and the radium paint chips off and goes on it, that will contaminate it. Simply measuring the radioactivity doesn't. Right, let me Google that one, DC3A72 dosimeter. These are all ones I haven't used. Right, the only ones coming up when I Google image that are ones for electromagnetic radiation, not actual real radiation, as in ionizing radiation. So make sure, unless this is a different model that's coming up that, is not coming up on Google for me, most of the ones coming up I'm looking at are definitely not ones that actually detect ionizing radiation. As I've said loads and loads of times, I don't go on in these gas mask Reddits or whatever, because how many of them just went to complete shit. I know some of them are better than they used to be, but in general, like I've said with a load of the other people, just because there's too many people that want to start drama in lots of places, I just don't go on them. So yeah, don't ask if I've seen anything on there, because the answer is no. And quite often it starts flame wars in the comments on here. Wow, I think the same goes to 4chan as Reddit, doesn't it? Places where people can essentially anonymously post are generally not good places for calm discussions, without the doxing and all the other shit that goes on there. Yep. It's the reprint the Imperial War Museum did. Yeah, it's Protect and Survive. Yet you can find the videos on YouTube with this is the Fallout, the creepy things. But yes, this is the reprint of Protect and Survive. Look, you can stuff a load of stuff in your chimney. That will stop you dying. Some of the stuff in here is actually practical knowledge. It's just it wouldn't save you from a hydrogen bomb. But, stuff about putting out fires in the house, water saving and all that sort of stuff. There's their little refuge look going under those load of bags and all that. What do we reckon their survival odds are? Probably not very good. Yeah, you can literally just buy these on eBay, and mine was even cheaper than the $6.99. That was the retail price for it. But yeah, it's just the reprint of the old Protect and Survive manual. But they're good bits of history. Yeah, here's the thing. Some of the advice they give you isn't bad advice. The problem is if it's literally being kind of described as if you follow this, you'll survive a nuclear conflict whatsoever. No, that's 99% not likely to happen. It's just some of the advice in here is going to keep you alive if you're in not too bad a situation and stop you doing stupid mistakes that would get you irradiated or running out of food and water. The best Polish NBC suit, in my opinion, is the Fu-1, which is the one that's basically like a British Mark IV suit, but better quality. No, I have no interest in football. I just find it interesting, Colby. There's no actual specific answer to that. Go on eBay and see if any Fu-1 NBC suits are in stock. The thing is, I have no problem with people that like football. I just do not get the point of people beating each other up over, oh, my football team's better than your football team. Right, for the Fu 1 suit, let me see if I can find any for sale. B-Store had a load at one point. I don't know if he still does. But right, let's see. Fu 1 NBC suit. Are there any for sale? Not coming up under Fu 1. Let me just search Polish NBC suit and see if any come up under that. Yeah, at the moment it doesn't seem like there's any for sale. So a British Mark IV NBC suit would be the closest thing you could find off the top of my head. I'm afraid I don't. Person who I can't even see their name. Well, NBC suit expiration, the closer it is to the expiration date, as in when it's gone out of date, the better. But it depends what you're using it for. If you keep it sealed properly and then only use it when you need it, most of its functions are still going to work perfectly. Especially keeping, stuff on the suit, not on your skin underneath. But yeah, as Tactical says, you can just buy cheap waterproof stuff as long as it's not going to rip easily. Just keep that on, and then that's easy to decontaminate. Yeah, you have to be careful, Class 2 instructor, wouldn't you? If you put a Mark IV NBC suit on and then took it off, all of a sudden you might be accused of being, doing some racist minstrel shit, when you come out of it like that. But they are comfy suits, Mark III and 4s, especially once you've washed it a couple of times and it's got the charcoal not contaminated, but, leaving black smudges over everything. The only restrictions from UK and US eBay is if something's like on an ITAR style list. Yeah, if you're going to get a DP5 Gopnik, go for a DP5V, because that was the last generation of the DP5, and it's the one that, does the most without you having to mess about with it. Like it auto-calibrates itself and all that. They're a bit lighter as well, It's still a DP5 and it still needs the weird old batteries, but in terms of, just being easy to run and less likely to break, a DP5V is better in every way. I definitely prefer the casing of the older DP5s, because obviously the old DP5s have that cool kind of Bakelite look to them. Yeah, the DP5B is definitely the best one when it comes to V. Even comes to, you can just put the batteries in, turn it on, and it will work out what everything's doing. It's kind of water resistant, Alfie, not waterproof, Mark 3s and 4s. Same with the German, like modern German NBC suits. It's like where they've got a fabric that's probably water resistant, then they put some sort of coating on it that makes it even more water resistant. If enough water gets on it, it will start going through. That's the better thing with like the rubbery NBC suits, is that the water stays on the outside a lot more. Yeah, my uncle's a big Speedway fan, Justin Vapor, although sadly there's no Oxford Speedway stuff anymore. But yeah, he used to like Speedway. I'll watch rugby when it's on, and I've not got much on because rugby's one of those things I can quite happily watch. There's a lot of sports, I'll watch if they're about. I wouldn't on purposely pay money to go out and see them. But yeah, football is just one I've never really understood the appeal of, especially nowadays. I can get back in the day when it was a much more amateur thing why people liked it, but now it's so much, to do with clubs trading very expensive players, essentially. Which aren't very good moral influences on children, because all they do is basically do drugs, cheat on their wives, all that. That's why I'm not a fan of football, because all it is really is, not all of it, but, a lot of it is just kind of a very vapid sort of consumerist. Yeah, banger racing's good, like Demolition Derby or Derby type stuff. I like all that kind of thing with old cars, like the kind of old hot rod type cars smashing into each other. Who's everybody saying about Fab Ceiling to somebody? Or unless the comments just broke. Yeah, I might, Maya, if I remember to look at it. The problem is, remembering to look at it when I'm not on the stream. 7 or 8 out of 10, Colby. You have to remember, though, that as gas masks go on, you get better and better masks for the most part. Like, the FM12 in the early 2000s is probably like one of the best masks you could get. Now there's like FM53s and all sorts of, nicer masks about. Oh, that's cool. Comterex, do they have lots of old Soviet radiation detectors in there? Because if so, you could probably sell them for quite a bit in terms of, compared to the price of a GP5, if they've got crates and crates of old dosimeter units and whatever. I don't think COVID affected the Geiger counter price at all. It definitely affected the gas mask price. But, COVID and radiation don't really have any correlation with each other other than radiation kills coronavirus. So, obviously gas masks and PPE completely went up in price because you can use it to not get infected, That's cool, Alfie. I don't know about the FM53, but GSR and M50 filters are different. If you get an actual Polish MP5, they're all right. If you get the French mask that isn't an MP5, that lots of people call the MP5, no, it's awful. Do I have the actual MP5 in this room? So I've got the French one in here, but do I have an actual MP5? Hang on a second. Was this the MP5's bag? I think this is the MP5. Yeah, right, here's my MP5. So, if you're buying an MP5, make sure you get one that looks like this. So it will say, let me put this light on as well so you can see easier. Right, it will say mask pole on the top bit there. If it doesn't have a Polish manufacturer's name on that bit, it's not an MP5. The voice diaphragm has a kind of circle design to it, like the cover for it. The French ones have like a dot design. That's the two very easy things you can do to tell them apart. But the problem is lots of people list the French masks as MP5s, and the French masks aren't as good. This is a licensed copy of the French mask, but the Poles basically built them better. A bit like how the Romanian M85s are better than German M65s. It's that kind of thing. So unless the seller's going to provide you pictures of that bit and that bit, don't buy from them, because they're more likely to have the French mask, which they're overcharging for. Yeah, £20 for a Shums at the moment isn't too bad. All right, Vladimir? I don't like anything to do with Myra Creamy Turbo, because Myra is a company that basically resells stuff claiming they made it for a massive price influx. Right, I don't have a Belgian sniper mask. I've got a Yugoslavian one where it kind of is like a net cover to the face. It's like a weird kind of suit covering thing. I think the idea was that Yugoslavian soldiers could basically wear this as like an oversuit thing to make them harder to spot during certain like months of the year that are often just called like Yugo sniper suits. I would not recommend using gas masks for airsoft because most aren't designed to withstand BB impacts. Would I rather fight 100 duck-sized horses or 100 horse-sized ducks? I suppose the duck-sized horses, because that way they're a lot smaller, aren't they? If you're fighting the same number, and ducks can bite pretty hard, so a duck the size of a horse, I imagine, could just break your bones. Duck-sized horses, I would probably see if I could tranquilize them and then resell them to people who want to sell like cute little horse things to their kids. And then if the horses then devour the children later on, that's not my problem. I've already run off on the money. So that's my answer for you. Yeah, if you had a gas mask for airsofting under a riot helmet, that would be fine, because the riot helmet visor is going to cover all the bits that would get damaged, and the visor on a riot helmet is not going to be damaged by airsoft BBs. The thing is, Vladimir, there's plenty of other edible animals, and horses are cool. I mean, I prefer donkeys to horses. Donkeys are way cooler than horses in terms of friendlier and everything else, but, horses are kind of got a utility role to them. Yeah, everything's edible, though. Humans are edible. That doesn't mean we should eat each other. Well, lots of people had horse meat inadvertently when they bought stuff from Tesco a while ago, so, I mean, it probably depends as well, Vladimir, though, doesn't it, on the type of horse as well, because there's so many breeds of horse and, equines, whatever they call them. I don't think Colby they're going to go for the rubber, but the voice diaphragm cover and that could shatter, I imagine, from BBs. Right, Max. People have already asked at this stream, but you're in luck. Let me get it back out for you to see again. You said the horses are out for blood before. Like I said, I'd just resell them to children, and if they ate the children, doesn't matter. Right. Last time I'm showing it you. A good Soviet Geiger counter, get an IMD5, basically the one that replaced the DP5V. It's very similar to a DP5V, it's just a bit better. So yeah, one of these. That's like the best Soviet one. If you want cancer, get a DP63. So I would not recommend getting a DP63. Right, eat your vegetables. You're going to provide a sauce for that? That sounds like absolute bollocks. Right, be very careful if you get a DP63. That's all I'm going to say. Oh, I don't have it in this room. If I had it in this room, I could show you just how bad a DP63 is. I've had kangaroo before, Vladimir, and I've had ostrich before. They're both quite nice. Yeah, don't spend £500 or dollars on an Avon M50. They're not worth that. The huge amount of radium paint they put on the display. I don't know about investing in Tellarite films. Would I personally buy one? Yes. Is it a sensible investment? I don't know. Don't bring up politics, all the people that just keep trying to bring up politics in different ways. When did I start this YouTube channel? 2012, so probably since 2011 or so. Most expensive? Ooh. Maybe my Martini Henry? Let's see how high we can get this to go, if I can actually get it to sit anywhere where you can see the display. I will get some radium watch hands in a container. Actually, these ones in the bag will read higher. Right, we'll go to the lowest mode, and I'll take the strontium 90 away from the window. So, here we go. Right. I don't have the speaker in at the moment, so you won't hear it clicking, but that's about 6 inches away at the moment. Bring it in closer. Right, it's maxed out. Let's go to the next one. Bring it in closer. Right, it's sitting on top of it now. Right, let's see where this arrow stops, if it stops on this one. Right, that's actually a very similar dose to the internal check source, just slightly lower. Looks like it's about 8 or 9 millirad as opposed to about 10 or 11 millirad. Let's get some Torbanite. Wow, Torbanite and Autunite. So let's put that there. The plastic case is going to reduce the radiation a bit. So while on the same setting, is that going up? Yeah, a little bit. Not as high as the other one. Let me turn this upside down because I think the plastic base is a bit thinner. Actually, tell you what I can do. We'll get this like this. We'll open this up. And we'll put the wand over it like that. So this looks like it's maybe 16 to 18 millirad. All right, bots, who joined a minute ago. If I didn't say hello. Yeah, I do like the IMD5 quite a lot. It's just a shame the seller hasn't got around to sending me all the accessories with it yet. What, the IMD5? It ticks as well if you put the headphones in the headphone jack. That's on this side. But I didn't bother doing that just for now. Yeah, Soviet Geigers are cool. Again, better built than the American and British ones by quite a long way. Except for maybe like the top end, like Ludlam type things, and some of the top end science produced ones. In terms of when it comes to like just generic mass produced Geiger counters, the Soviets win by a mile. Thank you very much for that info, Vladimir. Yeah, I know you're meant to read the other display, aren't you, for the beta flux thing, but it's still technically ionizing radiation because it's going into the thing. But yeah, it is beta flux, as you're right to say. But yeah, I don't have any strong enough gamma sources, thankfully, in this room to test just the gamma only bit of it. I mean, the What's it would do it, but that's technically not meant to. It's just a funny thing. The that. Yeah, Robert Lone Wolf, if you watch my channel, you'd know I own 2 working firearms and a few deactivated guns. I can't show them on stream because of YouTube's policy. D&B Militaria, same as the live guns. I'm going to give my hands a good wash after this stream because I've handled that container of uranium-based crystals. Thank you, Nandor. For anybody with an Agent Smith picture, I think, because it's quite small, hard to see. But if anybody does want any of the merch, you can literally see it below in like a toolbar. Thank you, Vladimir. That will prove to be interesting. In terms of little bits of dust on it. Oh, they discontinued the IMD-5 as early as 1992, did they? That's kind of strange, because you'd think, you know, the collapse of the Soviet Union, this would have been around a fair bit longer, seeing as it's better than the standard DP5. I'm now looking on a page of RHBZ devices, which I guess is just radiation detectors, because there's dosimeters and other stuff on here. Or does that just mean literally NBC, because there's sampling kits as well? I love the retro look of this one, I am not going to lie. This is very cool looking. Saying this thing's cool. It's probably got a very limited range of what it can do, but I do like the look of that with its kind of very orangey red looking case. Oh, okay, so it is basically like the NBC thing then, Vladimir. Thank you. Depends on what sort of chemical weapon it is, Kamsk. If it's chlorine gas or phosgene, as long as you know it's coming out, you put your mask on, you'll be all right. If it's nerve agent, you're fucked, basically. But having a mask is a lot better than not having a mask, especially if there's tear gas and other like less lethal things being used. All the stuff that won't kill you instantly, but the more you're exposed to it, the more damage it's going to do to you long term. Colby, you can get Section 1, Section 2 firearms for regular people, and there's antique and sort of obsolete guns like the ones I've got, you know, guns which are so old they basically think you can't be asked to get the ammo for them, basically. The British government does occasionally use tear gas. On the mainland, it's pretty rarely used. In Northern Ireland, it gets used a lot more often, but in mainland Britain, riot police using it is pretty rare. It's been used on a couple of occasions. In terms of police using CS in a raid type thing, that can happen. Nerve gas doesn't. Nerve gas basically sets your nerves to like one preset condition. So it's like turning everything in your body on or off. So basically, you have seizures, you know, all your muscles tense up. It's not a nice way to die. Yeah, yeah, because it's all exported to Hong Kong. But don't forget, it also gives you protection, a mask from biological threats and, you know, inhaling radioactive shit. You know, it's not just chemicals. There's a lot of uses for a mask. Or, you know, just cutting onions, stinky shit smells. You know, all in all, masks are very useful, from boring household tasks to somebody trying to kill you. Yeah, and if you want to see what tear gas can do as a less lethal weapon, look up the Waco siege, where it was choking people to death and then it all set alight because it's flammable and burned everybody to death. You know, tear gas, although it's less lethal, is something you have to be very careful with as a police department, because spraying too much of it can kill people, either through, you know, damage to the eyes, throat and lungs, or, you know, triggering somebody who has asthma or something like that off, or just setting them on fire if it catches alight. Because there's a video of some French police arresting some guy, and they spray him with like the CS spray rather than like proper pepper spray. And they spray him with CS, and then they tase him, and the spark from the taser sets him on fire. So there's like this guy, you know, that they're literally burning to death because they sprayed him all with CS, and then they tased him, so he like tenses up and then just sets alight. So yeah, less lethal doesn't mean it's not lethal. It's just less lethal, which is always something to bear in mind when people are like, cops shouldn't have guns, but they should all have tasers. It's like, well, yeah, you're less likely to get killed by a taser, but that doesn't mean it has no risks with it whatsoever, you know. So, several people have already said, I like your cut, G. That means nothing to me. It sounds like... I've heard the old-fashioned thing, I like the cut of your jib, but is that like the modern way of saying it, or does it mean something totally different? Let's look at what Pava 500 is. I don't actually know off the top of my head. Oh, so it's similar to pepper spray, but yeah, pepper sprays and things like that are much better than the old CS sprays in terms of it's more directional, you know, it's more directional, concentrated on a single target rather than just spraying everybody in an area with a choking sort of agent. Yeah, it doesn't sound pleasant, does it, Vladimir? Oh, it's I like your haircut, gangster, right? That makes more sense, Mike, if several people are saying it. Yeah, Bart, one of my mates, never shaves his hair because he said he looked like a boiled egg if, you know, because of the shape of his face. It's hard to answer what the coolest thing I have is. Maybe I'd say my Martini Henry or the Schmidt Rubin because, you know, old retro firearms. The Schmidt Rubin is fucking cool, but sadly I can't do a webcam video cycling it because YouTube doesn't like people cycling bolt actions. But yeah, I think you have to have a shape of head, don't you, Mike, where it doesn't look too off-putting. Because there are definitely some people I know where, you know, they would have a very strange-looking face shape if they didn't have a load of hair covering it. So they strangled him, Max. Oh dear. The answer is no, Eric. Why do people keep bringing up political shit when we said over and over again, we're not going to talk about it? If somebody shoots somebody in self-defense and it's justified, there you go. That's my answer. Especially in the US where that's the law. If SCPs were real, fuck knows. I don't really read up on the SCP Foundation stuff. Oh, that's cool, Alexei. What type of coins are they, and do they all have pictures of Hitler on them? Oh, I've had a similar thing where when I've shaved my moustache off before, people all of a sudden say I look like 19 or like 16 or whatever, where obviously people can actually sometimes tell when I've got a moustache that I'm like mid-20s. Although it still does surprise some people. Because like one of the girls at work the other day, when I said I was like, you know, taking my car home, she's like, you can drive, how old are you? And I was like 26. And she's like, oh, I thought you were like 18. I was like, no. You know, I get that a lot. I suppose it's better probably so that you look younger than older because it just means you have to show your ID more. But, you know, yeah, I don't like the idea of looking like 12 forever. Yeah, that's the advantage, Tactical Pirate, isn't it? That I'll be honest, since I've got this grown like this and not just like a bit of bum fluff, I don't think I've been asked for ID once, other than stuff where they just have to check an ID for the sake of checking an ID. You know, it's more like when my dad goes up somewhere and they just serve him regardless. Where I can remember like a year ago, I would literally get asked for ID on everything, you know, beer, knives, that kind of thing. Not really anything, Edward, but we're off in a minute anyway. Yeah, that's very strange, isn't it, Swaggerino? Keep making videos in Telebrite films. That's all I can say. Keep making videos. Stick at it. hope that one of your videos is favored by the YouTube algorithm of being relevant to the people watching it. Yeah, there you go, Vladimir summed that up. We're talking about nonsense. Oh yeah, don't get me wrong, Knifing Guts House. One of the reasons I like it, because I'm not trying on a mask and then going, ow, ow, when I'm like trying to tighten it or pull it off. Not yet. Until they fix all the bugs with it, I will not be installing it, because I do not want to be told I'm false positive or false negative or have lots and lots of the issues there have been with it so far. So until they fix it, no, I'm not installing it, because I'm not legally obliged to install it. And while I think it would be good for lowering cases if everybody had the app, they need to make a working app first. That's just the way I'm looking at it. RGD5. Let me look that one up, because I do have some Soviet grenades. No, I don't have the RGD5. I've got the bigger one. I've got that type. Just to say it's deact, you know. This is a deact grenade. But yeah, I've got the pineapple type of defensive one, but not the offensive one. Yeah, F1. Yeah, thank you. Because it's the French licensed one, wasn't it? This grenade. And I've also got a stick grenade. Oh, it depends, Knife and Guts out. Half the messages say it suits you, half the people say it doesn't, so I don't really listen to them anymore. It's just you do what you want to do. Well, the pub's closing at 10 p.m. is stupid, because from all the videos I've seen, people just start basically standing all together in the street, so it's even less socially distanced. Closest, Colby, I can speak to another language is German, and I can't speak German. So if there's a load of writing in German, I can very, very slowly kind of go, well, that probably means that, that probably means that. You know, and I can say, when I was in Germany and Austria, I could go to like somebody in a shop, mein Deutsch ist nicht gut, sprechen Sie English, danke? You know, and if they couldn't, then I could try and, you know, muddle my way through a conversation in German. But no, I don't speak another language. If I started learning languages at a younger age, I think I could. But the problem is, by the time, unless they teach, you know, a second language at primary school, I think by the time you get to secondary school, it's too late to start picking it up easily. There's videos, Mackenzie, of like the bolt actions working, like the ejector mechanisms and all that. There's none of actually shooting them, because the laws are with obsolete guns. If I shot them, it would definitely have to be on a gun range, and then there's stuff where it might have to be temporarily registered as a Section 1 or Section 2. Although I've had people arguing in the comments about that. But the point is, I'd at least need them on, you know, some ground where I could legally shoot a gun anyway, and my garden's not big enough for that. Yeah, the only problem with that, Richard, is when it gets a bit beyond this bit, that's when some oral nasal cups don't seal. If I had one that went directly down like that, like a Mark Shopper Reed one as well, that might work. But yeah, the only problem if I had like a twirled moustache or whatever, or one that went a bit too big, the oral nasal cups or masks don't fit properly, because it has the same problem beards have at that stage, where they break the kind of seal. Maybe it would have a giant beard and just a little moustache. Well, that's why moustaches were popular in World War One, because you know, you could have a tash, but you can actually have a beard of a lot of masks. Some masks do work with beards, but it's very few and far between. It depends where they seal, how they seal. You know, positive air pressure, negative air pressure. There's a lot of factors, but not really Unknown Russian. If you want me to go over all the reasons why very quickly, because my nearest airsoft site is about 30, 40 miles away. Before COVID, they were only doing, I think, one airsoft match a Sunday per month. So if I wanted to do one, I'd have to book time off work. I'd have to try and arrange for my friends to go, and that's failed before, you know, where your friends say, oh, yeah, we'll go, and then on the day, oh, I don't feel like it, you know, I feel ill, all that sort of shit. And what was the other thing? There was something else. Oh, yeah, COVID, because at the moment, lots of places like that aren't operating due to Corona. Some of them are, but not all of them. So, at the moment, there's too many factors to say why I wouldn't do it. And also, was it Marcus or somebody else told me, there's a site which I've bookmarked where I can pay a reenactor's fee and I can buy you guns without a license. So, I'll just be doing that. I would rather not have to go airsofting and just get a proper airsoft gun that way through saying, oh, I'm a reenactor or a cosplayer. Here's my outfit, look, That's literally what I'd do. But at the moment, I'd rather just keep saving for my bunker. No, replica firearms are cool. Sadly, UK law's a bit weird on them, where certain things are allowed and some things aren't for no real reason. They used to be really cheap here. I think you used to be able to get them for £10 to £15, and that was like with the bag and everything. Maybe postage was included and wasn't included. I'm not sure what that is in florins, but yeah, that they'd be more than they obviously would be in Hungary, but now due to Corona, they're probably silly prices again. Just because, anybody who can sell a mask is going to want to charge an arm and a leg for it. Thank you very much, Thomas. So it's for the bunker now, not beer money. Well, I will respect that. I think I've got 8,000 saved for it at the moment. So depending on how much I save per month, I would think in about a year's time, I'd probably have enough to buy one that would need renovating. And then again, renovation costs. But if I can get one at a good price, and then it just might take a bit more to renovate, I'd just do that because you've at least got the property sorted at that point. I'm buying a bunker on Lone Rush, and I've been saving up for one for a couple of months now, or like 4 months maybe. Basically, just buying an old ROC post with a bit of land with it so you can live rent-free there. You could just put a tent on the top if you want to and live in the tent, but just because of UK property prices, what would you rather do? Spend 10 times the amount on a flat or get a bunker for 10 times cheaper? Makes you think. Yeah, but that's if you own the land already, isn't it? In Telebrite. Just like a half-face dust mask type thing, Mighty Liners, because the radiation there now is very minimal. It's only really a problem if you kicked up a load of dust that was from, I watch a few exploration channels. There's definitely a few people that have offered to help me renovate, so I will take some of them up on it, Thomas. It's going to depend as well, like what sort of systems I install in it. Because a couple of ROC posts are even on grid, which is quite cool. But a lot of them are off grid. And if they're off grid, I'd be installing like a big solar kind of, system, and then a solar to 240 volt AC system, with it and all that. But buy bunkers with loans. What's this? I'm going to Google this quickly, Vladimir. I'm going to be off in a minute because my stomach's hurting again due to the UC. Hopefully by tomorrow my meds will be in at the pharmacy again. But all right, let me find a blurb for it because it's coming up with. Here we go. Right, Waterstones have a blurb. Let's read the blurb out. Best known as the author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the #1 personal finance book of all time, Robert, Kiyosaki, has challenged and changed the way tens of millions of people around the world think about money. In Fake Money, Fake Teachers, Fake Assets, Robert delivers insights and answers that can help ordinary people who probably haven't had a lot of financial education determine what's real and relevant to their financial lives. Right, so is it something that basically tells you how to be sensible with money and, like what's a waste of money and other stuff like that? Sounds interesting. Yeah, EU volt. I don't know about all of the EU, but UK is 240 volts, like 230 to 240 volt Swaggerino. The US is 120 volt or 130 volt, I think. Yeah, but be aware we're a while away from buying the bunker yet. I'm just saying we'll see what the case is when I get one. You go on a property site where people sell bunkers. There's like sites I think called like Unusual Properties where they sell like old weird buildings and bunkers are on there. But they also sell things like old fire stations on there as well, and train stations, things like that sometimes get sold off completely. Thank you, Class 2 instructor. But yeah, I said it'll be coming eventually. It's just saving up enough. So basically what I'm doing is every time I get a pay slip now, I say 60 to 70% of it goes to the bunker, because obviously I have living costs at the moment. And by putting it into a savings account, I don't go, oh, that's a cool gas mask, let me buy that, and, remain forever poor. So yeah, the idea is get the sort of 20 grand mark where you start seeing decent ones for sale. And then it's going to be snap one up that's in a good location, assuming it's not completely wrecked. The US does it use 225? I thought in Telebrite films it was like for cookers it used, because I thought, doesn't Electro Boom have a load of videos about the different voltages of places? But if I plug a US 120 volt thing in before into the electricity in the UK like I have, they bang and they're dead. They like properly burst open. So yeah, most US things I think are 120 volts, aren't they? Or at least low amp things, because yeah, when I had to buy one of those proper big plugs that, steps down 240 to 120. Yeah, thank you, Classy. So yeah, it's dry as electric cookers. That thing's R240, yeah. But yeah, before I did that, I just had one of those simple travel plug things, and I blew up quite an expensive electronic thing because it was in US voltage. I just plugged it into UK AC and thought, I'll just trip the trip switch if it's too much electricity. It tripped the trip switch about 5 seconds after the fucking thing blew up. So, but what I mean though is in the UK, wall plugs are literally 240 volts, aren't they? Like 220 to 240, whatever it is. That's why it's a problem for like international travel. If you don't have something that steps up or down voltages, it can sometimes end a bit messy. Nandel, what I reckon you should do then is you should buy a load of them, and then when we start getting into our second wave, which we're already into, you should sell them for a bit of a profit on Amazon or eBay or whatever. I reckon that would be a good business model to you. Do the cheapest postage out of Hungary and sell them to people desperate for masks. And I'm not trying to say that like a price gouging dickhead. I'm just saying because of the amount of people that were buying up all the stock of regular masks and charging hundreds of pounds for it, I don't see the harm in somebody locally buying masks from their surplus market and then selling them for a decent price and making a bit of money for themselves. The third UK plug is a grounding plug, but some US sockets do have grounding plugs on them as well. Basically, a lot of the time, the third UK plug doesn't do anything because a lot of them can just be completely plastic. But the idea is that it's basically just a grounding plug, and also to give it a bit more like a secure fit in the plug socket, really. Yeah, strange, Daniel, isn't it? But yeah, I don't want to get in an argument with people about voltages, but the point I was making is that if I get a solar system for the bunker and I want to use conventional electronics in it without, step up, step down for everything, what you need to do is then get some sort of, whatever the technical word is for it, like the phaser or phase shift or whatever the word is, the converter thing that turns 12 or 24 volt from the solar panels into 240 volts, so you can plug standard electronics into the walls. Is it an inverter? Yeah. Well, on modern ones, Daniel, I've got some older plugs in this house where there's just holes in the sockets anyway. Yeah. I've got a microwave transformer out there. And that's a fun and dangerous thing to play with. So yeah, electricity system would most likely be solar, unless I find one that's on grid, and then you can just, do the thing of pay as you go electricity, and I barely use any electricity myself. I'd have a computer on, charge my phone. Other than the bit of light, that would be it. I'd read books, we'll be out. But for water, like a few people have suggested, you can get those like water tower type filling tanks, can't you, of all the filter systems in it, which seem pretty good. So you could buy bottled water and just have a thing that catches rainwater and puts it essentially in your own little reservoir. Yeah, the thing is though, Daniel, for running a PC though, you'd need 240 volts, wouldn't you? Unless there's a way you can get like a 12 or 24 DC plug for a PC, which it then steps up. Yeah, well, would also, like I said, there's a lot of ways of doing it, isn't there? But it's just the more I think about it, the cooler is it all the stuff you can do, for minimal essentially cost. I wanted to plant a load of stuff on the land with it, for growing some of your own food. But yeah, I know solar panels are coming down and down and down, so that's the point. By the time I get it, I'm sure there'll be a very good, affordable way of getting quite a lot of energy out of solar. But yeah, I'll be off now. Mike, did you say you were going to be on Twitch tonight at 10? I'll have to definitely watch that one, Swaggerino. I've not seen loads of Only Fools and Horses in ages, but I vaguely remember it, but not much of it. So I have to see if there's a place where you can just stream any of the episodes, so I can just watch that one without downloading or buying a box set. That's all right, Mike. As I said, I've been quite tired today anyway due to all the UC stuff, but yeah, that's cool. Don't worry, it's just so I know if I have to be on Twitch at 10 or 10:30, or if I'm just going to be watching a film or whatever. Oh, so there are you can just get an external PSU, can you? There's probably a lot to think about there, but yeah, I said we'll think about it more closer to the time. Yeah, Jennies are cheap though, aren't they? Generators, you can get actually pretty decent generators now, between a couple of £100 and £1,000, like a petrol diesel generator. But yeah, I was just thinking of renewable energy, doing more to save the planet than all the hippies that complain about it. It'd be quite funny. Here's my eco bunker. Oh, there's a megaton blast. Look at all that UV I'm pulling in. Oh, but yeah, that I don't know. That I find that quite funny. You could have some wind power little turbines as well, couldn't you? So when you get the shockwave before they snap, I'm generating a lot of electricity. But anyway, yeah, right. I'll be off now. Hope everybody's enjoyed the stream. I've had a good laugh tonight. So yeah, I need to look into. I suppose sadly it'd be illegal for me to make my own little nuclear reactor on top of the bunker. But anyway, see you all. I've had a good stream. And yeah, have a good evening.